If you've seen any movies in the past 50 years, you may have heard of a production company called Lucasfilm. Just 2 years after the massive success of Star Wars in 1977, George Lucas decided to branch into computer graphics and created the Lucasfilm Computer Division. Unfortunately, the Star Wars video game license was still owned by Atari, which meant if they wanted to make games, they would need to start somewhere else. After development on their newest game started in 1985, designer Ron Gilbert invented a game engine called the Script Creation Utility for Maniac Mansion. The SCUM engine became legendary in game development and gave Lucasfilm Games a template for their classic run of adventure games in the 80s and 90s. It all started as a tool to help Ron Gilbert develop Lucasfilm's first self-published game, Maniac Mansion. Nowadays, you can play Maniac Mansion on PC through Steam or GOG, or if you have the means, you can get a physical cart for the NES. I played on Steam Deck, and after 5 hours in-game, here's my review of Maniac Mansion. Maniac Mansion first released on the Commodore 64 and the Apple II in 1987, but eventually got ports to MS-DOS, Amiga, Atari ST, and even the Nintendo Entertainment System. It's a point-and-click graphic adventure game designed mainly for mouse and keyboard. I played the enhanced version from 1989 on my Steam Deck, and it was playable right away without any setup required. It runs on the SCUM VM emulator and uses the trackpads for your mouse movement and the triggers to click. A was used for the spacebar, and I had to manually map out the F keys to do things like bringing up the menu. Mapping them out was no big deal since the game is official Steam Deck support, so all I had to do was choose which button was most comfortable and I was good to go. Even though Maniac Mansion is designed for mouse and keyboard, I found it completely functional with my handheld controls. There's a few cutscenes explaining what's going on, but if you're at a loss and don't want to spoil anything, you could always look up the old game manual online. And speaking of cutscenes, Ron Gilbert literally invented the term cutscene for this game. Maniac Mansion features scenes that inform the player of something going on elsewhere and progress the story, something games were not known for doing in the 80s. Before this, there were only introduction videos and little animations between levels, mostly in arcade games. Even though this game's from 1987, it's perfect for handheld gaming, and at just a couple hours per playthrough, it's easy to finish in 1 or 2 sessions. Now let's talk about the gameplay. Maniac Mansion takes place inside the giant home of a mad scientist and his family in an unknown American town. You play as Dave, a college student who goes to the mansion to rescue his missing girlfriend, Sandy. Dave can recruit 2 out of 6 friends, each with their own abilities and completely different methods of rescuing Sandy. You can choose Sid the musician, Michael the photographer, Wendy the writer, Bernard the nerd, Razor the punk rocker, and Jeff the surfer dude. Every character is unique. You control each one independently and need to work together to solve puzzles and get through the mansion. You play the game by pointing and clicking at different objects in the world and selecting which action to do or item to use. The mansion is full of rooms with different puzzles to solve and danger to avoid. Your team will determine how you can progress. For example, Bernard can fix electronics, Michael can develop film, and Wendy can use the typewriter. You'll need to think outside the box to figure out which characters can do what, and you'll want to play again and again to get all the different endings. That's right, Maniac Mansion has 5 different endings, and choosing your team is the first determining factor in which ending you'll get. Once you set your team, it's time to go into the mansion and solve puzzles to get through rooms until you eventually find and rescue Sandy. All you need to do is to pretend like you're in a cheesy 80s horror movie and you'll be able to figure it out. Maniac Mansion successfully brought the use of cutscenes and multiple endings to the mainstream, and now those are cornerstones of modern video games. This game is from 1987 and requires a lot of patience. You're going to go through a lot of trial and error, and every now and then you may hit a brick wall. There are a few scenarios where you could accidentally use or break an important item and then you won't be able to finish the game. You don't get a game over screen when this happens, so you would need to realize your mistake on your own, which wastes a lot of time and is pretty frustrating. It can be a little confusing to start out, but the puzzles you solve will start to make more sense as time goes on. You'll also need to watch out for Dr. Fred and his crazy family. If they catch you, they'll either throw you in the dungeon or kill you. The puzzles are the strongest part about this game. They're pretty creatively designed. Your first playthrough, you'll only get the tip of the iceberg too, because a lot of puzzles can only be solved by certain characters. At first glance, this looks like a very simple old game, but there is a vast treasure trove of content just under the surface. I bought Maniac Mansion on Steam for $5.99, but it's also available for the same price on GOG, or if you really want to, you can get the original NES cart for around $20. The PC version also has the Enhanced Edition from 1989, which just has some minor audio and visual improvements. Maniac Mansion was the first in a legendary run of adventure games by Ron Gilbert and Lucasfilm. It paved the way for Monkey Island, Sam and Max, the Indiana Jones games, Putt Putt, Pajama Sam, Freddy Fish, Backyard Baseball, Spy Fox, and it inspired many, many more. In 1990, Eugene Levy turned it into the very first fully live-action video game adaptation, running for 3 seasons. The impact Maniac Mansion has had on the video game industry and media as a whole cannot be understated. Now, before I say anything more, I'll give it a score from 1 to 4. On the revolutionary Dinkus 4-star scale, Maniac Mansion gets 3 out of 4 stars. The writing, the character interactions, the puzzles, the mechanics, they're all nothing short of genius. A legendary game engine was created just so this thing could come to life. I just can't forgive those dead ends in the game. They will really take the steam out of your playthrough once you realize you made a mistake and can't continue. Ron Gilbert himself has acknowledged this, and he said if he ever remade Maniac Mansion, that's what he would fix. Despite its flaws, you can't deny how foundational the game is, how clever the puzzles are, and how funny the characters are. This game is cheap. It's $5.99, and I see it go on sale for under $3 all the time. If you have a passing interest in adventure games or games with multiple endings, I'd definitely check it out. Buy this game, but make sure it's on sale.